Hey, how's it going, everyone? Just back again with another sequence of the end times. This one's in Second Corinthians, and has a little bit of numerology, and it's incredible that that this sequence is everywhere. So Paul's describing, his labor, his work, to preach the gospel, and how he's doing it with a pure heart. But then, it's has end times built into it too, which is incredible. Second Corinthians 6:1-16 is what I'll be reading. Working together with him, then we appeal to you not to receive the grace of God in vain. For he says, in a favorable time I listened to you, and in a day of salvation, it's going to occur in a day, and in a day of salvation I have helped you. Behold, now is the favorable time. Behold, now is the day of salvation. And so we're proclaiming that, in the days that we live in now. We put no obstacle in anyone's way so that no fault may be found with our ministry. And so that's the same in the last days. God's elect, whoever is out there preaching the Bible, they're not putting themselves between that person and God. In fact, they're removing all obstacles and then presenting God to that person. But as servants of God, we commend ourselves in every way by great endurance in afflictions, hardships, calamities, beatings, imprisonment, riots, labor, sleepless nights, hunger. And so Paul's talking about what they've gone through, but in the last days, that refers to the time of Great Tribulation, where there's plagues, in Revelation 16, and then there's going to be just chaos everywhere. And then most notably, it talks here about hunger, and so this is the time of famine, and just know that, and then God's right-hand side, the ones that remain, the mixed multitude, are going to be persecuted, Verse 6, by purity, knowledge, patience, kindness, the Holy Spirit, genuine love. And so just know that out of that time, that's what God is sifting. And that's in verse 6:6. So that's what God's going to be looking for during that time, to get the rest of his right-hand side. So now we're going to have a reference to Christ returning with his elect. And it's coded language, but it's incredible. By truthful speech. So those few words will now describe the gospel being preached during that time. Okay? And the power of God. With the weapons of righteousness for the right hand and for the left. So now this is talking about Christ returning with his elect on his right and his left-hand side. And then it's the power of God. So again, just in a sentence, it's encoding the sequence of the end times, which is absolutely amazing. Verse 8, through honor and dishonor, through slander and praise, we are treated as impostors and yet are true. That's in verse 6, 8, 14. That's God's elect. They're the truthers of all truthers. They're not capable and interested in ever telling a lie. As unknown and yet well known, as dying and behold we live, as punished and yet not killed. And so this is them reappearing, with Christ. As sorrowful yet always rejoicing, as poor yet making many rich, as having nothing yet possessing everything. Okay? They don't care about money. They have the truth. That's priceless. Verse 11, we have spoken freely to you, Corinthians. Our heart is wide open. You are not restricted by us, but you are restricted in your own affections. In return, widen your hearts also. Now we're going to have a reference to the kingdom of heaven. Do not be unequally yoked with unbelievers, for what partnership has righteousness with lawlessness, or what fellowship has light with darkness? What accord has Christ with Belial? Or what portion does a believer share with an unbeliever? I would highly recommend for people who have an ear to hear, separate yourself from people. Pretty much everybody, okay? Don't worry about it. It's going to get serious very, very soon. Verse 16, what agreement has the temple of God with idols? That's referencing Revelation 16 and the plagues. For we are the temple of the living God. As God said, I make my dwelling among them and walk among them, and I will be their God, and they shall be my people. And so this is, again, coded language. It's fairly explicit as well that this is referring to the end times where the believers and the unbelievers are going to be separated, and then there's only the believers. And then God says here, I will make my dwelling among them and walk among them, and I will be their God, and they shall be my people. And so this is an incredible thing, even just within a single sentence. In verse 6, 7, to me is the most fascinating. By truthful speech, which is the gospel being preached according to Revelation 14:6 by these UFOs. And then it goes into the power of God and then weapons of righteousness, which is Christ returning with his elect. And so it's amazing, that this sequence is embedded everywhere in the Bible from beginning to end. Hope everyone's doing well. Bye.